All right, it's 4 o'clock. Oh, sorry. So we are going to call the January 16th Committee of the Whole meeting to order. Clerk Cox, will you please call the roll?
Commissioner DeLu,
Here.
Commissioner Gissler,
Here.
Vice Chair Pro Tem Hepler is absent. Commissioner Mazer. Here. Commissioner Morales is absent. Chair Ray. Commissioner Strebs.
Here.
Vice Chair Taylor.
Here.
And Commissioner Wheeler is absent. 6 present.
Thank you, Clerk. Commissioner Wheeler did call and say that she wouldn't be here. All right, so next up is public comment. Those wishing to leave public comment, please state your name, tell us where you're from, and limit your comments to 3 minutes. This is an opportunity to provide input in a professional and respectful manner.
Honorable Chair, Vice Chair, Board of Commissioners, my name is Mary Balkema, and I serve as your Housing Director. I'm here this afternoon with my new hire, Willa D. Toronto, who's our new Housing Project Manager. Last week, I doubled the size of my department. It's very exciting. Willa comes to us from the City of Portage, serving as our Housing Resource Specialist. She's working on the state housing plan under the category Housing Stock. She's bright, experienced, and is a great fit to our talent pool. Before serving the City of Portage, she worked as the Chief Admin Officer at the largest family homeless shelter and community housing program in Philadelphia. She witnessed firsthand the needs of low-income families. Providing safe and affordable housing was her passion and the center of her work. She proudly serves on the Board of Directors for Building Blocks, an organization that works hard to promote neighborhood revitalization and community building through resident-led projects in Kalamazoo's core neighborhoods. Willa lives in the city of Kalamazoo with her husband, Jimmy, and her 3 beautiful daughters. Please join me in giving Willa a warm Kalamazoo County welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Welcome, Willa. Are there any others who wish to leave public comment? Commissioner Gissler.
I'm sorry, Chair. I have to ask the question. The important thing is, Mary, can she make cookies?
Commissioner Gissler, every time I come up here, you say I only bring cookies if I want something. And so I made them because I'm not really wanting anything. I'm trying to add value.
That's very refreshing. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. How are you? Start there. Thank you for having me. It's a privilege to speak with you all today. My name is Tierney Nualaji, and I have been working for Kalamazoo County government for almost 8 years, coming this April for Health and Community Services Department in the Maternal and Child Health Division. As I stand before you today, 9.5 months pregnant, I come to bring the awareness pertaining to leave for parents who have welcomed their children into the world while being an employee for Kalamazoo County government. It would be more accurate to say that the lack thereof of paid maternity leave or parent leave. According to USCSF, for decades, national paid maternity leave policies of 12 weeks or more have existed in every industrialized country except for the United States. In 2021, as a first-time mom, I was induced and experienced 45 hours of intense labor only for every medical intervention to fall short and to be rushed into an emergency C-section. For months, while on maternity leave, I was fighting to get back to me, mentally, physically, and emotionally. But that wasn't my only fight. While being responsible for my own health, I was also responsible for my son, who had GERD, an umbilical hernia, difficulty hearing in both ears, and of course, the typical refusal to sleep. With medical ailments comes the responsibility to pay for them. We also had mortgage, medical bills, and the plain old daily responsibles to cover. And being paid at 60% of your original wage during parent leave, monthly expenses are difficult to cover, to say the least. I, a mother of two young boys to be, am not the exception to this experience as an employee at Kalamazoo County government. a Michigander, or an American. According to the University of California, San Francisco study, a US citizen as only 16% of Americans are granted paid family leave, while even though we have data, including research from Blau and Kahn, suggesting that 1/3 of the decrease in women's employment of the US are relative to other countries is related to the lack of benefits such as paid leave. When I returned to work, I had no choice but to wear the mask that many of us parents have to wear. After being diagnosed with postpartum depression and anxiety and adjustment disorder, I had little choice whether I would return to work. My 12 weeks of FMLA were up. In 2012, a US study showed that 8 weeks of paid leave was linked to poor health. 8 weeks or less of paid leave was linked to poor health. Poor health and increased depression in women. It cannot be ignored that we have studies observing retention from the study of Boston's college stating paid leave makes it more likely that women will return to the same employer after their leave period, even among low-wage workers and industries. That alone is a red flag and a wake-up call. Not to mention other studies done in 2018 revealed that the duration of paid maternity leave insignificantly is correlated to positive mother-child interactions, leading to secure attachment, empathy, and later academic success. As a leader in the community, we were meant to establish better ways of living for the citizens of Kalamazoo. But as my elders have always told me, you have to live it before you give it. What I see as of now is that we continue the cycle of that negatively impacts our community as a whole and the households of individuals we've entrusted to make it better. I believe that we can do better. I believe that we must if we want to make a true impact in our community, starting with us. Finally, I believe that the change and impact starts here with you, making a decision and making a difference, creating a way for employees of Kalamazoo County to receive paid parent leave. I am grateful in advance for your ear to hear in the steps that you make toward the manner in which we all evolve. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Tierney. Are there any others? Administrator Catlin, are there any recorded calls?
No calls this evening, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. So next we have a presentation on the opioid community needs assessment. Deputy Administrator Warner, is that you?
Good evening. First, I will wait to see our consultants needed to join us this evening remotely due to some weather conditions of where she is located. So it looks like Dina is bringing her over, and I will turn it over to Rihanna for the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. I am back today with the final report presentation on the community needs assessment that we completed. I know that we had released the report, the written report, in December, so the presentation is short and more to the point, just because I believe you had all had the chance to kind of go through it already, and I just wanted to talk on some of the main points and recommendations that we included in there. So we can go to the next slide and start. Our recommendations were split into two different sections: recommendations for future community assessments, because we like to talk about how the community assessment process is really never ending. It's always an opportunity to learn more and continue to grow as a county, as a community. And then we also split it up later into recommendations for actions that you might be able and willing and looking to take. For future assessments, we recommend to explore prevention strategies that are currently being utilized within the county. This wasn't something that was really dove into during this first assessment process, but it is something that would provide further insight on exactly what is available within the county and what individuals are looking at prevention-wise. We also encourage exploring follow-up care plans that providers and treatment centers might offer. This is sort of touched on within this assessment. We heard a lot about warm handoffs and when they are and aren't used, but exploring those further would also give more insight into where we might be losing individuals in the process and where we can bridge the gap. We also recommend meeting with faith-based organizations. This wasn't a group of individuals that we met with specifically within this assessment process. We heard a lot about how individuals found resources based on their faith and how they that was a big part of their recovery journey, but we didn't actually specifically meet with any faith-based organizations, which could be useful in the future. And we would also recommend hosting further listening sessions. I know that the turnout for the one that we had wasn't anything huge, but we had heard in some of our focus groups that the timing and location for that listening session wasn't as accessible for them as the focus groups. So by having more listening sessions in different locations at different times, we believe that you'd be able to reach more individuals that weren't able to make that one specific listening session. And then we can go to the next slide. Our recommendations for the community are based off of the conversations that we had. So some of these are things that community members mentioned wanting or being willing to take on almost, or things that they really wish were available to them, but they just don't have the resources, time, staff, things like that. One of the main resources that people were talking about was having a resource guide or an asset map that is accessible, that is kept up to date, and that they can point people towards when they might not know the answers. We had heard from individuals who talked about getting calls, asking questions that they were not really fit to answer, but still doing their best to help others to navigate what sort of resources were available to them. And we also heard a lot about how some organizations want to have a resource guide that they can pass on to clients or patients, but it isn't something that they have the money, time, or staff for. The second recommendation we had was a central hub. This is for resources for organizations. We had heard from organizations that they feel that a lot of their time is spent going to meeting after meeting, and that some of these meetings aren't necessarily as efficient as they could be. They feel that by having 20 meetings a month, they're missing out on the part where they're actually doing work. So having a central hub for those resources is an opportunity for the organizations to meet a little less almost, but still get just as much work done, if not more work done, because it's more about the collaboration. Having a central hub is also somewhat tied into the resource guide. It's somewhere that if an organization is offering a new program or service, that they would be able to get that added into the resource guide fairly quickly. Our last recommendation for the community is open communication and transparency. Something that was brought up often during focus groups was feeling that they really wanted the work that is going to be done with the settlements to be done in a way that is purposeful and meaningful to those who are impacted by the opioid epidemic. Individuals with lived experience mentioned that they wanted to make sure the money was going towards helping them because that's what they felt it was for. And by keeping the process transparent, it will help ease any concerns that they might have of making sure that it is going to be useful for them and for others in the future. And we can just go to the next slide. It's just, I am open to kind of discuss any questions that any of you might have about the final report or any of our recommendations. So yeah, if any of you have any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Commissioner Shrebs?
Thank you, Chair Ray. So just looking through the results, I noted in the focus group that related to people with lived experience, we only had one participant in that focus group. Is that correct? And do you have some suggestions on how to improve that participation? Because that particular segment of all the people we talked to are really the ones that I want to ensure are being heard by this board as we make decisions with our allocations going forward.
Of course, yeah. I pulled it up and I believe we had 31 participants in focus groups for lived experience and one participant for an interview. I do think one of the groups that was lacking a little bit with the lived experience would be the loved ones, so family members and friends. I know that the focus group only had 2 participants for that group. That might be a group of individuals that is a little harder to meet with sometimes just because of what their experiences might be. But it would definitely be recommended to increase that and to really target that population in the future.
Thank you for clarifying, and it's the one interviewee that I'm remembering, so thank you. What was it that helped facilitate people who participated in a focus group into an interview? Was that a more in-depth dialogue that they had, or did you go through the same sort of discussion points as you did in a focus group, for example?
The interviews were based on individuals that couldn't make it to focus groups. I believe a few of them came after the listening session, which is after we had wrapped up our focus groups. If there was further information they wanted to share, they were invited to that interview. The interview does allow for a little more in-depth discussion, but we did touch on most of the same points that we did in focus groups. It was just allowed more time to speak on their experience and what they would like to see.
Are there any other questions? Thank you so much for your time. Okay, so next up, we have review of accounts payable and payroll disbursements, followed by the monthly financial report from Finance Director Post.
Good evening. New chair, new vice chair, new and same vice chair pro tem, commissioners. An accounts payable claims list totaling $5,140,899.92 is presented for review. Of this total, the Board of Commissioners is asked to approve claims totaling $5,062,767.69. Payroll disbursements totaling $3,909,955.39 are presented for January 5th general and special payrolls. And lastly, there's no conflicts of interest with this batch of claims. Are there any questions?
Any questions? No questions. We got one question, Commissioner Gitzler.
I'm sorry, I couldn't pass up the chance, Ryan. Are any of our assets in the last few days become frozen?
No comment, sir. I wish I could tell you they're thawing out, but I don't have that factual answer.
Thank you. No further questions. You can move to the monthly report.
Thank you. Okay, so the monthly financial statement for December 2023 has been presented. Please recognize this is an unaudited financial statement. I make that disclaimer just due to the fact of the year-end process that was emphasized a few meetings ago. I know if we jump right down to the bottom of that, we can see the net through this report is in the red, 2,100,000 approximately. But it's worth pointing out there's revenues that we've just not simply recognized yet. Just to highlight a few of them, we've got some indirect costs that still need to be recorded to the general ledger. I'm estimating that to be about $500,000. We've got tax revenue that I'm estimating over 5 million, which is made up of 3 categories. One is going to be for the delinquent real property taxes. That's also made up of the marijuana tax, as well as the local community stabilization funding we received from the state of Michigan. We also have a pending transfer from the DTRF, the Delinquent Tax Revolving Fund, that's not been posted yet. So when we add all that up, that's a quick 7.1 million. Last board meeting, it was estimated 4 to 8 million would be the surplus of revenue. And we're going to stick with that projection and land in the middle. I would think about 6 million. If everything comes together as whole with all estimates, revenue from the state, a recording of indirect cost. We have to make a few adjustments at year end with the general fund in terms of the transfers that have been sent out. But other than that, that's what the projections at this point. Are there any questions with that being said?
Vice Chair. Vice Chair.
Thank you, Chair. You indicated there were some revenues that hadn't been accounted for. I'm assuming there's probably some expenditures that we haven't accounted for too, or that will be coming in or will be dealt with. It sounds like we'll be okay on the revenue side. Are we going to be okay on the expenditure side, or we're going to have to make some adjustments or anything?
From what we're seeing, we have processes in place in terms of year-end cutoffs. Our purchase orders that we have, we're in the process of liquidating those, removing those from the books in 23. I guess we can always kind of expect the unexpected. That's very common. We have to look at worst case scenarios. So that has also been factored in to the projection. So when it's all said and done with, to factor in those unknowns for some wiggle room based on just trends and history. Again, that situation is an estimate of 6 million where revenue will exceed expenditures.
Vice Chair Taylor.
Thank you very much. And Kevin, I want to say thank you, your team, and Ryan, thank you as well, because I love these things. But I'll get right into the meat and potatoes of it. You talked about the DTR transfer. We did a transfer of 90,000, I believe, but we didn't transfer the full 1.59 previously in the year.
So the 90,000 was from the accommodation tax, an amount of 90K. That has been transferred.
Okay.
Separately, the
Mhm.
1.5 DTRF has not.
Okay. And is there a timing that we transfer that 1.5? I mean, it seems like, we could do it at any point during the year. I know that there's been a lot of, consternation about when we collect our taxes and when we collect our revenues, so that we have the type of, fund balances built up so that we can operate until June or July. I mean, if this is a problem of the counties, as far as collecting revenue, why couldn't at least the ones that we have an option to collect those earlier in the year as opposed to wait until the year's end is out? I know the cannabis tax, we have to wait until the following year, but isn't that something that we could transfer in if we were in, a liquidated problem, so to speak?
To answer that question, yes, I believe that to be the case. That would start with a conversation first with the treasurer's office, just to confirm that. But I would think this is probably just one of the past budgeting practices. So in other words, the transfers out, you send those right away. So those hit the books, that inflates your percent for that period. On the flip side, the revenues, just the last minute to do that. So we can operate what that looks like without the year. And then as we close the books, we bring that in. But that just may be a past practice that we've not unfolded yet in my return back to Kalamazoo County.
It certainly seems that it would give us a little bit more flexibility throughout the year to have that, revenue earlier. We would, rely less on, having large, funds built up to utilize those, but instead utilizing our revenue sources that we do have control over. The quick question, going through a couple more actually. Central service cost recovery, we're at 5.1 out of 6.4 for the year with a 1.3 million deficit on that. Is that seems like another thing that we could probably be able to manipulate at least so that we could collect earlier in the year as opposed to later.
So
right?
that's fair. So you got to recognize with the grant world that we live in, the September 30th is primarily when the state's fiscal year ends, with a lot of our grants are ending. So those have been recorded at this time. It's the grants that are in the first quarter of their new fiscal year. So primarily October through December that we've not recorded yet. So that component's missing. And then there's one large fund that I was avoiding on naming that we've not recorded any indirect costs yet.
Okay, sounds good. And then going to judicial on the revenue side, looks low, but I think I asked at the last meeting a couple of meetings ago, but those are also expected to come trickling in through first quarter of this year.
So that's correct. There's a few in there. Court equity, that's a payment from the state of Michigan. The one thing that is misleading though, when we look at that, if we look at the restitution, So that's the org 101-283-01. And so this was a change in GASB a few years ago where we had to record both the revenue and expenditure. I think we recalled this last year when we saw that first year. So we've got $952,000 budgeted for both revenue and expenses. That's a worst case scenario from my understanding. And in 22, excuse me, that was nowhere near that. I think we just kind of had to budget what our maximum exposure liability would be. So that is a bit misleading. If you look at the total judicial, there's a $1.4 million balance. You back that out, that's a $500,000. Factor in a few other payments pending from the courts we've not received yet. That should get us closer to our projection.
Cool. That makes a lot more sense. I didn't factor in the restitution portion of that. And lastly, shout out to the drain commissioner and register of deeds office for exceeding their revenues by a sizable amount of money or sizable percent. And that is it. Chair.
Thank you.
I do have one more thing to say. Ryan, thank you again. You were doing an incredible job with what you've taken over about when you got here. I think that you have shaken the trees and you've done an amazing job with finance with our county, and we're in a much better position now than we were a year ago. Thank you.
Well, thank you. It starts top down, trickles down to administration, and I want to thank the finance team for being open and for what's still coming. And we've done great things, and everybody else, treasurer's office too. So thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Director Post. So next we have our monthly investment report from Tyler White from the treasurer's office.
Thank you, Chair. Reporting on the investment portfolio as of December 31st, previously sent by administration. As of December 31st, the investment portfolio had a par value balance of $158,015,067.27 and a market value of $157,256,638.36, which is a variance of $758,428.91. And so to give a little bit of context here, our market value variance for December shrank by just over $500,000 from November. So what that means, the value of our portfolio's assets on the market has continued to increase, which is good. We're not going to liquidate all of our investments, so that is unrealized. Let's not liquidate all of those, please. But for context, in December of 2022, we had to record a $2.1 million unrealized loss on our market value adjustments. And for this year, we're recording $758,000. So it's still a net decrease that we're going to be showing in the total earnings for 2023, but much better position now than we were in 2022, and happy to give that context before the rest of the numbers here. For actual earnings, so this is without market value adjustments, the portfolio earned $597,719.49 on an average daily balance of $162,333,315.43 for an effective rate of return on the county's investments of 4.34%. This rate is inclusive of realized gains and losses on maturities, sales, same as the past couple of months. These are through our broker managed accounts, and they're still earning a current yield of 5.53%. So we're happy to let them do as they need for our collective benefit. And for the year, the portfolio earned $7,250,175.97. That includes realized gains, losses, and amortization of premiums and discounts. And of this, $3,551,877.26 relates to the general fund share. Now, when including the market value adjustments, the $758,000, our total portfolio earnings are $6,491,747.06, of which $2,799,248.35 relates to the general fund. That's because most of our market value adjustments take place in general fund investments. And last year, we outperformed our original budgeted investment income by just under 1.9 million, and that's inclusive of these end of year adjustments that we had to book. Without factoring in these adjustments for unrealized gains and losses, it would have been outperforming our budget by 2.64 million. So really good year. And with all that info, just a little bit on inflation to give context of our 4.34% earnings for December compared to inflation. Inflation for December was 3.4%, which is up from 3.1% in November. Inflation target for the Fed is still 2%. And despite the increase, I don't expect interest rate hikes. I will give this over to Treasurer Whitener after this for outlook on 2024. He'll have more info on that than I do. But the next meeting of the Federal Reserve Board of Governors is the end of this month, and we'll keep you all posted of updates. And with inflation of 3.4%, our 4.34% rate of return for December, still outpacing inflation. So we're still experiencing net gains in our purchasing power. And I'd be happy to take any questions on 2023 info before passing it off for 2024.
Thank you, Chair. Real quick, you mentioned that market fund adjustments take place generally in general fund investments. Why is that? Is that because those are invested in from long time ago with lower yield rates?
Now, most of those, most of our pooled funds are in our general fund, and that's because there's a lot more activity where if we're actively pulling from those, we want those that are a little easier to liquidate as we need. And so if we don't have locked in CDs, there's no real penalties on when we sell. And so a lot of those realized gains and losses on maturities and sales, that's where a lot of our general fund adjustments come in. So of these, it's pass-through securities. It's U.S. Treasury notes that are being actively purchased and sold. It's through our broker managed accounts. And that's why almost all of it is in the general fund. With our other funds where we're saying, hey, we're locking in this money for purposes such as building the new justice facility or something like that, we'll have those layered out separately. But that's why most of those are in the general fund, because there's a lot more activity of in and out as we need.
I guess I had a little bit of a misunderstanding comprehending that. Then I thought the mark to market was a reverse inflection of interest rates. And when you're locked in, for instance, on something, you would be more susceptible to market fluctuations. Whereas if you're using pooled cash, you aren't as susceptible to that. So it seems like it would be the complete opposite.
Well, some of the pass-through securities were purchased in the past, and then there are changes with that. So not all of it is brand new. Some of it is still when we purchased at the time, and it's something held for a couple of years and COVID hit. And so part of that is still carry forward from our initial purchase all the way through to now, but it would be more of a loss to sell those old ones, purchase new, at least on the part of our broker partners. So on that, I can see why it would still be a net loss on those. But again, it's almost exclusively in our general fund for those adjustments.
I guess I'll probably get with you afterwards. It just seems
Absolutely.
that pooled funds would you know, that would be the rate of the day and it wouldn't have any reflection on the interest rates.
Well, with
But-
pooled funds, we include all of our broker managed investments in that category. So that'll include longer term investments that are still under those. It's those not directly managed by the treasurer's office. It's those that we invest with these partners to say, this is what you do all day. We're going to trust you to make more money than we could ourselves with layering CDs, given the other work that we do in our department. But if you would like to ask more questions, I'd be happy to do more digging.
So quick question then,
yes.
and this will be it. That being said, as interest rates do drop, then the realized gains from mark to market then would be primarily reflected in our general fund as opposed to our other investments.
Both, I would say both yes and no. Well, based on the what we've been able to record, including today, where we're getting 5% on some of our CDs, well, those are going to become more and more valuable as interest rates drop because we've got something with higher yield. So dependent on how far it drops and when and how we've layered our different investments, it won't necessarily be limited to general fund, but I still would expect most of that in general fund because it's where half of our investments are anyway.
Okay, thank you.
Of course.
Thank you.
Chair, if it's okay, I'd love to give a little bit of a preview of 2024. I'm going to get my crystal ball out here in a minute. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you tonight on this. 2024 is looking to be a much calmer year as far as investments go than was originally expected. Current signals from the Fed show that they are planning on cutting rates at a slower rate than expected, having, they think, perhaps achieved a soft landing of the economy, meaning that we have a much lower threat of dropping the entire economy into a recession, which is good. There are a couple of indicators of that we're looking at and watching very closely. The median duration of unemployment is one of those and currently stands at about 9.7 weeks across the United States, with average initial unemployment claims are under 210,000 each month. Inflation for 2023, as Tyler said a little earlier, stands at 3.4%. I want to give some context in that is down from the peak of 9.1% in mid-2022. So the Fed's target there is right around that percentage points. They're trying to ride that line very carefully. Experts now anticipate between 3 and 5 rate cuts during the 2024 calendar year. Each of those rate cuts are expected and priced in at 0.25%, so 25 basis points. The initial expected number of rate cuts when we were talking back in December was closer to the 6 to 7 cuts of that 0.25%. So we're looking at a longer, slower period of rate decreases, which is good for the longer portfolio strategy that we've been taking, meaning we'll be able to continue to push those rates out as we go through this year. Currently, those more aggressive rate cuts have been priced in. And so if you look at the yield curves right now, you'll see that our rates peak somewhere around the 12-month period. We're getting calls from banks starting today with the news of the slower rate cuts saying, hey, we're actually looking at a higher rate, 5.15% as opposed to 4.8 around that 1 year mark. Are you interested in jumping in with $1 million, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? So we've got some really good signals there indicating that we'll be able to continue this kind of performance around the 5% mark with new investments for some time to come. We're anticipating strong performance in 2024. I don't know that we'll be able to anticipate a $6.2 million exceeding of our estimations. I hope so. But like I said, I'd have to get the crystal ball out to tell you that. And we're going to continue to position ourselves in the market as effectively as we can so that the Treasurer's Office and the investment portfolio of the county can continue to fund the goals of this board. So any questions you have about 2024, I'm happy to attempt to answer. But thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Treasurer Whitener. Vice Chair.
But I just wanted to first off state, we were $1.1 million last year in dollars made. We're at 6.7. During our budgeting process, that's a lot of it has to do with the Treasurer's Office, Tyler, and quite frankly, this board too, for getting after it the first few months of this year and making sure that that's a $6 million increase in revenue for the citizens of Kalamazoo County. That's a big deal. I think it's a big testament to what we've been able to do and how we've been able to move as a county. Now, what we're going to be experiencing in the next year and the year after that, I think we have to take each budget cycle, have to take a deliberate approach on the investment income based on what we think is going to happen in a rough sets for the next year. But we increased that from a budgeted amount of $1 million to a budget amount of over $2 million. And I feel more than confident that we're going to hit that number each and every year. I think that's going to be a critical part of our budget process as we go forward and we're identifying revenues. So as commissioners, you know, if I get hit by a bus or something one day, I hope people like Gisler are still here asking these questions. So thank you very much. And not driving the bus.
Commissioner Sharps.
Thank you. I just want to lift up congratulations to the treasurer's office on the performance. Challenges create opportunities for us to correct where we've been and move forward in a positive way, and office has done that, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Treasurer Whitener.
Thank you.
Moving down to any other items. First, we have a request for approval of proclamation recognizing the retirement of the medical examiner. Is there anyone who'd like to volunteer to read the proclamation? Commissioner Gisler.
I had a chance to tour Joyce DeYoung's facility, and I'm sure that Western Michigan Med, you know, has some serious bucks in there, but wow, what an impressive facility it was. I don't know if I'll get time sometime to tell you a story about that. Maybe I'll do it in the off time between the two meetings. It was really something to do that, and I would love to read, if I can find it. It's not in here? Okay, thank you very much. To honor Dr. Joyce DeYoung and the Office of the Medical Examiner and Forensic Services. Whereas Dr. DeYoung has served Kalamazoo County as the medical examiner since 2010, faithfully providing forensic pathologic services to the Kalamazoo County residents and as well as providing such services to over 15 additional local public health departments within Michigan counties during her tenure. Whereas Dr. DeYoung's, hang on, I want to make sure I can move this up. Oh, here we go. I'm sorry. I'm trying to do a touch screen and it's not an Apple product. I'll do it the hard way. Got it. No, went too far. I'll get this right. Whereas Dr. DeYoung's educational journey included Grand Valley State University, Michigan State University College of Osteopathic Medicine, and Emory University. Through her exemplary educational performance, she broke barriers and created pathways for future osteopathic physicians in the field of forensic pathology. Whereas Dr. DeYoung, went too far again. Whereas Dr. DeYoung, professor and chair founding for the Department of Pathology at Western Michigan University, Homer Stryker, MD, School of Medicine, Kalamazoo County from 2014 to 2024, and forensic pathologist, disaster mortuary operational response team, and U.S. Department of Health and Human Services from 1997 to the present, will begin a new career as professor and dean of Michigan State University's College of Osteopathic Medicine in 2024. Whereas Dr. DeYoung answered the call to become the founding chair of pathology at WMed, this opportunity allowed her to address the pressing need for exceptional medical legal death investigations, expand her influence on public health, and provide innovative educational experiences for future physicians. Under her visionary leadership, the department flourished, attracted top talent, fostering collaboration and significantly contributing to the medical education and research in our community. Dr. DeYoung has, DeYoung has made significant contributions in disaster response and mass fatality management. deploying multiple times with the federal government to various catastrophic events, including 9/11, Hurricane Katrina, and the earthquake in Haiti. She has displayed her commitment to serving humanity in times of crisis. Her experiences in this field have profoundly influenced her perspective on healthcare and further solidified her dedication to promoting health equity. Sorry, I gotta move the screen again. Whereas the outgoing president and current board of director chair of the National Association of Medical Examiners, NAME, Dr. DeYoung has been a member of NAME since 1996 and made history as the first osteopathic physician to lead this esteemed organization. NAME awarded Dr. DeYoung the Susan B. Baker Public Health Impact Award in 2020. This milestone achievement demonstrated her dedication to promoting osteopathic principles within forensic pathology. Come on. Whereas Dr. Young has been instrumental in securing over 2.7 million in grant funding direct. This thing's got a hair trigger. Whereas Dr. DeYoung has made, I didn't touch it that time, I don't think. Sorry. Whereas in recognition of her lifetime, excuse me, of achievement and dedication to the mission of forensic pathology, Dr. DeYoung has been the recipient of several awards since 1999. The latest was the Milton Halpern Award in 2023. Resolved that the Kalamazoo County Board of Commissioners does hereby acknowledge with deep gratitude the many years of dedication and service Dr. DeYoung has imparted to Kalamazoo County and our community, and offers its heartfelt best wishes and continued success in her new opportunity.
Thank you, Commissioner Gisler.
Thanks for the loaner machine.
Yeah, of course. Okay, so that was just the first reading. Yes. Commissioner Morales.
Thank you. Grammatically, I see her name capitalized in some spots and then in lowercase. I'm not sure if that's supposed to be like that. Her last name.
It's small d, capital J, I know that.
Well, and then in other parts of here, it's a capital D and a capital J, so I'm just.
Yeah, the capital D should go. I feel comfortable telling you that.
Okay, noted for whoever needs to make those corrections. Okay. All right, moving along. Next up, we have a request to waive the 60 calendar day prior written notice provision in the employment agreement of Corporation Counsel. Administrator Catlin.
Yes, thank you, Chair, Vice Chair Pro Tem Commissioners. So as you know, we received some unfortunate news from our esteemed Corporation Counsel that she has accepted a different opportunity outside of Kalamazoo County government. It is a huge hit to that office and the legal services that are provided by her to this county. Lots of staff have reached out to her. She will be sorely missed. And she will be difficult to replace to that caliber. So nonetheless, her contract was supposed to go through October 10th, 2025. So that was a 3-year agreement. It commenced October 11th, 2022. Within there's notice requirements for resignation from either party. So if the board were to end Angelina's contract early, there would have been notice. If she ended it early, there had to be notice, and it's a 60-day requirement. Her new employer would like her to start more or sooner than 60 days, and so she's asking that the board waive that 60-day requirement so that she does not lose out on that opportunity. There are other projects that Corporation Counsel Barnes is working on, and the board will see a recommendation to place her on a contract later on to see out that work, because it efficiency wise, it wouldn't make any sense for a different attorney to take that on, knowing that she's procured a matter management system anyway, but that's besides the point. Nonetheless, that's for a 60-day requirement to be waived for her contract. And that's what this item is for. So happy to entertain any other discussion. We have Attorney Osborne here from Colesberg-Gurtowski, if there's any questions legally pertaining to her contract. But yes, just want to say for the record, we will certainly miss Angelina Barnes, fantastic attorney. Like I said, she's received a lot of notes from staff all around the county, wishing her success in her future endeavors. So thank you.
Thank you, Administrator. So we are just trying to like gain consensus on whether or not we're okay with waiving the 60 days.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, Commissioner Gisler.
Thank you, Chair. Can I ask, what are the financial implications for the county, whether she gets the 60 days or doesn't, or whatever? Is that gonna impact on, her departure and our budget in any fashion?
Not significantly. I mean, there are budget implications. If she stays this full 60 days, she would be performing the legal services rather than outside counsel. If she forfeits, or if the board waives that additional 30 days, we'll be, we'll have to compensate outside counsel. There's a potential cost savings with not having corporation counsel. So there's kind of a balance there, but nonetheless, we're going to experience higher legal bills in the interim until we recruit a new corporation counsel and assistant corporation counsels.
Thank you.
Vice Chair.
Yeah, just kind of, I thought the exact same line of thinking as you, Commissioner Gisler. In the last budget cycle, we budgeted, I forgot, 675, 700,000, Kevin, that sound about right for outside counsel. And then our corporate counsel, is that about right? 700,000?
We believe it's lower. It should be around 350, I believe.
Well, that's what we spent, but we budgeted 700 and I think we spent about 350. Correct?
Oh, for 2023. I
yeah.
think that might be right. Yes,
Yeah,
correct.
Yeah. So, and what Angelina Barnes was able to do is drastically reduce our reliance on outside counsel. We've got a great relationship with Colesberg-Gurtowski. They fill into a lot of the cracks that we did. But in my opinion, Angelina Barnes saved this county about $250,000 last year, simply because she was doing a lot of the work that we outsourced to other firms. She was doing that as a department of one person. And I don't know how she did it, but she did it. There was just times when there were, multiple different departments that needed their contract, needed everything to go through. And previously we were outsourcing everything to Colesberg-Gurtowski, which they do a great job, but it takes a lot longer to do that. And it's not as efficient. I think that we need to replace Angelina, and quite frankly, we need a corporate counsel department of more than one person. It needs to be at least 2 attorneys and a paralegal. And I feel strongly that there needs to be representation from the Board of Commissioners in that selection as well. But I think MCL requires us to be the hiring and firing agent of corporate counsel. So I think as we go down this process, as far as the 60 days or 30 days, I think she's more than earned it for us to give the 30 days. She's more than earned it with what she's given to this county for the previous year and a half. But moving forward, I think we need to be very cautious and very deliberate in how we set up that corporate counsel department so that it can be a sustainable office that increases the efficiencies of county government and makes all departments work in a better synergy. So I think it's a very deliberate move as we move forward in this, but I would proceed with caution. And in the meantime, in the short term, we're going to have to rely very heavily on Colesberg-Gurtowski. But in the long term, I think we need to be deliberate and have that person report to the chair of the Board of Commissioners. I think that makes more sense. But those are my thoughts on that process.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Commissioner Stravis.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to lift up my regrets hearing Council Barnes leaving employ with us. She's extremely diligent and detailed corporation counsel. This board has been in a number of searches for corporation counsel over the last several terms. And I guess we could look forward to conducting that search again. I agree the support is needed in that office so that we can sustain talent once we obtain it. And I think, you know, there would be no reason for us not to waive 60. I want to clarify that I'm hearing 30 days is the time frame that she will continue in support of the county, and then additionally on contract with some projects as well. So that's all good news. Otherwise, we just have someone performing work for us sort of under duress that, you know, is ready to be somewhere else. And, you know, that impedes their ability to do quality work. So our thanks to Council Barnes for her grace and patience with me. I appreciate it as always. And thank you. I'm in support of waiving. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Stravis. Any other discussion? So, yes, Commissioner Gessler.
Thank you for allowing me to speak a second time. I just wanted to comment that I follow John's lead on this completely as last year's chair. He knows far better than any of us do how Angelina did her work. I think, Jen, you had much closer work with her than I did. I didn't have a whole lot of contact, but I had the impression she was really first rate. And I like the idea of having an office of the corporate counsel with corporate counsel, a deputy or assistant or whatever you want to call it, and a administrative person. That'll give it some legs that will hopefully continue indefinitely into the future. Thank you.
Administrator Cameron.
I was just hoping that there would be a motion for this. So I believe that the motion would be as a motion to waive the full 60-day calendar day prior written notice provision in the employment agreement, except her resignation tendered January 8th, 2023, and agree to establish corporation counsel's last day of full-time employment under the terms of the employment agreement as February 2nd, 2024. It's in the item report last paragraph.
Should we move it at 7?
Absolutely, yeah,
Okay.
you could put it under non-consent too, yep, sure.
Okay, we'll add that to the agenda at 7. Any other discussion? Commissioner Gessler?
I'm sorry, Tammy, Chair. I just remember, if I remember correctly, that we got the lead onto Angelina through our illustrious administrator. And I'd like to know if he's got anybody else like that in his pocket.
I am fresh out. I'm fresh out, but I have received some tips from other county employees, and so we'll definitely encourage those folks to apply when the position is posted, which is something that we would like to talk to the board about getting that position posted immediately and such. So,
Commissioner Morales?
Thank you. And then as we do that, are we looking to, if we're adding positions, where's our budget at for that, for the second counsel and the paralegal? And are we gonna have some competitive rates so that people are not bypassing us and kind of get them in here around the same time? I know that'll be a heavy interview process, but at least they'll be starting together. You know what I'm saying?
That's a great question, Commissioner Morales. Commissioners, so yes, there is a budget. So the board already approved for 2024. We already have the corporation counsel, but they approved 2 assistant corporation counsels as well. We don't have a paralegal established, but that's something that the board can obviously add to during the process. So as soon as we can get the corporation counsel position description, we'll share that with board leadership, get that out to the board by the next meeting, and then hopefully be able to get that position posted and run through the process.
So if we have three counsel, why do we still need a paralegal or can we?
So I would say, I'm not an attorney. I would almost probably defer to Attorney Osborne, but I think that the paralegal could handle a lot of the written documentation, those sorts of things. Then corporation counsel and even the assistant corporation counsels can actually concentrate on more of the legal work that's required, if that makes sense.
Corporation counsel?
Sorry, it's been a while, I think, since I've been at a meeting, I guess. Wasn't sure where the microphone button was. Yeah, that's what a paralegal would normally do. They'd help with maybe file maintenance, initial drafting of some motions, helping to manage the cases or the workflow in the office. So you could probably keep a paralegal busy as well.
Thank you. Any other discussion? All right, seeing none, moving on. Board Chair Advisory Bodies Appointments. I didn't receive any changes from anybody, except for there was one from Commissioner Morales. She does not want to serve on the Land Bank Board. She doesn't, it conflicts with her work schedule. So that one is available if anyone wants to take that on. I can look it up and tell you what time they meet. Third Thursday, 8:30, second Thursday, 1 to 2. Commissioner Shrebs, I'll look it up though, to be exact. That you don't want to serve one? Okay.
Sorry, thank you, Chair. So just to apologize, I didn't have an opportunity to lift up. I'm right now serving on EHAC and the DHHS Advisory Board, and they both meet at the same time. DHS meets every other month, and that's the one I've been able to really participate the least with. And so if there were another commissioner who could participate in that body, they meet at 9:30 on the second Wednesday of the month. It is in-person meeting. You primarily focus with community, family and children's services workers and foster care placement, the folks at Child Protective Services who are working closely with families.
Thank you, Commissioner Shrebs. Any takers? Commissioner Talou? Okay, go ahead.
Well, I have a conflict as well. Since I'm on the Board Appointments Committee, we changed our days and times. So I'm also on the Central Dispatch, and they meet on Thursdays at 3:30, and our Board Appointments Committee meetings are Thursday at 4. Currently, I'm on the Central Dispatch Committee, and Commissioner Hepler is the alternate. I don't, if he wouldn't mind switching, that'd probably work out better. Because I didn't miss a meeting last week with them because I was here for the Board Appointments Committee.
Thank you, Commissioner Talou. Are you okay with switching?
You're gonna stay on then as this.
The alternate.
Sorry, I didn't push my button. You're gonna stay on as the alternate because I think you do a great job with both those things. So I'd be glad to work with you on that. So whichever works. If I may.
We can also change the time of those board appointment committee meetings too, if it works better for you and you want to be there. Oh, so did none. Oh, we can work it out. Vice Chair Hepler.
Just a quick pointer on the Environmental Health Advisory Council. It's no longer alternate. We have 2 representatives, so they've got a LT. I think that was passed at their last meeting, so should be 2 commissioners for the environmental EHEC. Yeah. Well, it was Stubbs and Hepler, and I was the alternate, but now it's Stubbs and Hepler as commissioners. Okay. I believe.
Thank you. Any other changes? Anybody interested in the land bank or the DHHS board?
I'll do the land bank.
Okay. You were gonna get it anyway. Anything that nobody wants, the vice chair gets. My first time I had so many boards. All right, we got you down for the land bank. No interest in DHHS? Sounds like lots of fun.
I wouldn't be very good at it. There'd be commissioners here that would do a much better job at that than I would.
Wendy looks interested. Okay.
I'll take it.
All right, yes, Commissioner Shrubs.
I have another as well. Cradle Kalamazoo Steering Committee, that's meeting every other month. On the fourth Thursday at 11:30. That is a virtual meeting. And I've had a number of conflicts for that one as well through work. So being a virtual meeting, it's a little easier. If there's interest from another colleague, that would be great. Cradle Kalamazoo is through the YWCA, and they're working on addressing maternal and fetal health in the community, infant mortality.
It's not through the YWCA, but the YWCA is one of the many Cradle partners.
Thank you. So see what a great job I'm doing. Thank you.
I think that one you can appoint staff too, so that's not required to be a commissioner, FYI.
We
Does that
can.
go?
Kevin?
I was talking more like health and community services.
Well, yeah, I was just asking Kevin for like, is that true? Because we definitely need somebody from Health and Community Services, or maybe somebody from, well, no, not Healthy Babies, Healthy Start, they're already on the committee. So we want to make sure it's somebody, obviously with an organization that has some power, because it's a steering committee, and like, can make changes and not just take the information and do nothing with it. It's an important committee.
Yes, I agree. We can follow back up with you on that for sure. Yep.
Thank you, Administrator. All right, if there's nothing else, we can add this to our next meeting at 7 o'clock for approval. Thank you. Then next up, we have public comment call-in discussion. Administrator Catlin.
Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair Pro Tem Commissioners. If you recall, we had a very, well, I don't want to say it was a very short discussion. We had a discussion on this topic about public comment call-in. This is just being elevated again, as you know, the city of Kalamazoo eliminated all of their call-in public comment, as there are different ways for folks to engage with the board either before or during the meetings. And we wanted to bring this discussion back up in the event that the board wanted to revisit our public comment mediums. So if we want to eliminate call-in public comment, currently our call-in public comment is individuals participating on Zoom. So Dina would bring those individuals over, or they can record public comment by a certain time, and then we play those during the public meetings. And so just opening it up for discussion, if we want to remain status quo, that's an option, or if we want to change anything with the format that we currently have.
Thank you, Administrator Catlin. Commissioner DeLu?
I just have a question. Was this implemented for COVID, or was this a past practice way before that?
My understanding is that it was implemented for COVID as a way for folks to participate and engage with the board more safely. Yep.
Commissioner Gisler?
Thank you, Chair Ray. I suspect on controversial issues, we'll still get plenty of depth of people coming in to have their say in the flesh. And I would just as soon see us eliminate all call in or Zoom in comments. If it's that important, maybe we won't get 30, but we'll probably get half a dozen anyway that come in and make a very forceful case for their position. So I'd like to see us follow the city's lead.
Thank you, Commissioner Gisler. Commissioner Shrubs?
I just want to express, I'm in support of continuing to offer some types of virtual options for people. Accessibility is a problem for people. It can be an issue for people with disabilities, for elders. We can have issues of weather that impact people's ability to interact. I think we offer a couple of options now, and I think it might be reasonable for us to reduce those to one, where people maybe live, virtually want to interact with the commission. If we fully eliminate the issues, people will still, come to chambers and speak impassionately, but we also bring up some tensions within chambers when we do that. And we can also allow people ways to express strongly held opinions with us virtually, and that also has some safety components to it as well for us to consider. So, and I'm open if we keep all of them. I think it's, democracy is an active process, and when we offer community members ways to engage in that, I think it's a net good, even if it means sometimes we sit through, longer comment sessions. We might, however, consider some policy where a person, we're listening to like the same recording at multiple meetings. And perhaps there's some way in policy, they can leave a comment at each meeting, but then they need to leave, like, call back again and leave a comment for the 7 o'clock meeting instead of just playing us the same. Because that's inefficient, redundant, and I don't know, it really lifts up the constituent's voice any better that way. So just some thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Schertz. Commissioner Morales.
Thank you. I know statewide, the elimination of call-in has been eliminated. You can't leave voice messages, but the option of calling in via Zoom is still heavily used. I would support doing Zoom. Most people, they still have to, they show their face and, talk live. And then to eliminate that double, can you play this at 4 and 7? I'm with eliminating that. And like the masses said, if they want to come, we've seen 100 people in the office come and voice their opinion on what matters to them. But from an equity standpoint, I would rather keep the Zoom option as opposed to pre-recorded calls.
Question.
Agree with Commissioner Morales. I think having one option, it allows people that can't be here to just to say what they need to do. But then at the same time, we're also, protecting ourselves as well from somebody sabotaging, organization sabotaging our meeting. I've said it before when we talked about this. It doesn't take a lot of, a community organizer or anybody that's worth their weight in salt can get 100 and some people to do a pre-recorded thing. And next thing you know, we're listening for 3 hours of conversation. Our meeting is sabotaged. I think if they really want to speak to the issue, they can call in and Zoom, and I'm good with that.
Commissioner Morales.
And with that, have a cutoff time for Zoom. So maybe it's Monday by 5 p.m. that they sign it. I know when I went to a Michigan State meeting, you had to already be on there. And then if you wanted to even come up for public comment, you had to sign in. And if you weren't on, if you didn't meet that deadline, then you couldn't speak. So if we're honing down on things, especially as things may get heated, we may want to think about opening that space up the Friday before and closing Monday, or maybe Tuesday morning, so that we have that list of folks and we call the folks up that are on Zoom.
Any other discussion? Administrator Catlin, do you feel like we need a motion at another meeting, or? Because I would support either way too. I like the folks having accessibility to the meetings. I don't mind the recordings. I don't mind when it's 100 recordings. I would prefer that over the Zoom, but whatever we decide, but I would agree that we should keep one in place.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So what we can do is let us touch base with legal on some of the items that Commissioner Morales talked about with signing in and such. And we'll just pull together some more data that we have and share that with the board at the next committee of the whole. That's okay?
That's fine.
Okay.
Okay, next up, we have the post-Siegel implementation adjustments. Administrator Callan again.
Well, actually, I'll allow, I'm gonna defer to Deputy Administrator Cole on this one, so please.
Thank you, Administrator and Board. Wanted to take this time to bring up for highlight and discussion the Siegel implementation and where we are today. As you know, the Siegel compensation plan and implementation created a baseline for positions and compensation, leveling out some inequities and irregular practices due to the Hayes system. While people may have had some, issues and adjustments, it really was around creating a starting point for how we make changes. And as you know, via policy, there was a moratorium for changes. So now that we're in a new year, the board will begin to see those requests coming in. So we wanted to highlight that. Also, in preparation for that, we'd really like to also thank this board for their support via the budget and the tools via policy to be able to address issues as they come up, either through persistent vacancies and also retention, where we see that is a major component. And all that we attempt to do, we truly want to make sure that the compensation system is something that is transparent and predictable, that employees can understand this is not about favoritism, but about the metrics, or at least the key components to a position related to compensation, so they understand it. Our discipline in this regard will pay dividends for our current employees and also our future employees who will join us. Right now, if departments determine that certain positions were incorrectly banned or they have some issues with that, they're encouraged to use the request for position creation reclassification, where all the positions were evaluated. And again, just to highlight for you all and those who are listening, that the system currently focuses on formal education, work experience, management and supervision, human collaboration, freedom to act, and the impact of those actions, knowledge and skills, fiscal responsibility, and working conditions. And those are how positions are evaluated for where they're slotted in the compensation system. If you notice, market conditions and competitiveness is not part of that evaluation, okay? So we also know that those things change as the Siegel implementation was at a point in time, and we've had market changes and has resulted in some of those positions. So in that case, there are policies in place that where departments can use a market study request. So within that, what we're also asking at this time, and through the one of the goals that we have as an administration in maintaining competitiveness, is when we fall out of phase, when inflation and job competition changes, that there is a guiding principle that we aim for, and that is within the government space to stay in the median. So there are times when we fall out of competitiveness. One of the things that we want to have support in is moving those positions and pay bands to the median. So when someone comes in, that starts them on that path. And we believe that our compensation system, as employee, once they remain in our system, they'll remain competitive. But we'd have to make those adjustments from time to time.
Guess what's the ask?
Oh, it really just an update, and then the support for the concept of shooting for the median, that when issues occur, that is our true north.
Okay, I guess, I don't know, I think we are in a position financially in the county that, I mean, I would like to be at a little bit higher than the median, just to attract the best talent possible. Do I want to be at the highest end? No. Somewhere in the middle. mean, where we are with competitiveness, talking about, you know, how we did our, as you said, we did our Siegel study. It was based on, you know, wasn't based on market conditions or competitiveness. It was based on, you know, what the job descriptions are and what this is. My thought is I think Siegel has already started to lost its ability or lost its place of where we are as far as an active indicator and what competitiveness is for other counties. I mean, we didn't even go after the city of Kalamazoo when we were doing our surveys of different positions. I fully support, Carol, what you're, as far as going for the median and how you're going to do it. I just think that we need to do it not for the, definitely for lawyers in this county, definitely for nurses, people working in the juvenile home. There's a lot of different areas, and all positions weren't evaluated. All positions were compared to an evaluation, but all positions initially weren't actually evaluated. They were compared to the 16 or 18 people that were done in that Siegel survey. So, I mean, I guess the ask of sticking for the median, I'd like to be a little bit higher than that, but the general concept of that I agree with. So I mean, that's kind of where I'm at. And I guess as far as that ask, I do think that we at the county, with the financial situation that we are in, I think we can afford to try to go after the best possible talent that we can. And if we're a little bit higher than the median or the mean or whatever it is, then so be it, as long as we're practicing, you know, fiscally prudent and we can afford it. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you, Chair. I agree with Vice Chair, and I'd like to see that as long as we're staying within our budget. I guess that's a good thing. But I agree that we should try to get the best talent. The backbone of this county is our employees. And they're here to serve our citizens and our businesses and make this county a great place to live, work, and play. So I concur. So thank you.
Commissioner Stripes.
Thank you, Chair. Living wages are the most important thing that we can provide for our employees, and competitiveness. So we need to be strategic in that, especially when we have particular positions with extended vacancies and turnover. We have to really be willing to invest in the quality of the individuals that we can retain there. So we've got to be willing to spend resources. And I also just want to lift up thinking about total compensation, what we do as a package across just the wage, but what we're doing for leave, for benefits, for professional development, et cetera. All of those components are really important for, you know, recruitment and retention.
Thank you, Commissioner Stripes. I just have a question. Will you all be just evaluating certain positions, or will this be for all positions?
Thank you for that question, Chair. The trigger will be on persistent vacancies.
Okay.
You know, obviously the concept of market competitiveness and retention is going to be based off of people's choice to accept positions and also remain in positions. So that would be the trigger.
Okay. Thank you. Any other discussion? Seeing none? Thank you. We don't have a closed session, correct? All right, so we are adjourned. All right, we're gonna call to order the January 16th regular board meeting. Commissioner Gisler is going to lead us in the invocation, reflection, and the pledge.
Thank you. Please join me in prayer. Lord, please grant us the wisdom to govern amid the conflicting interests and issues of our times. Also grant us a sense of the welfare and true needs of our citizens and a keen thirst for justice and rightness. Grant us confidence in what is good and fitting and the ability to work together in harmony even when there is honest disagreement. Finally, grant us personal peace to do the job that needs to be done. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner Gisler. Clerk Cox, will you call the roll for us, please?
Commissioner DeLu,
Here.
Commissioner Gisler,
Here.
Vice Chair Pro Tem Hepler. Commissioner Mazer. Here. Commissioner Morales.
Present.
Chair Ray.
Present.
Commissioner Strebs.
Here.
Vice Chair Taylor.
Here.
Commissioner Wheeler is absent. 8 present.
Thank you, clerk. Next up, we have proclamation. Vice Chair Hepler is gonna read that for us.
Thank you, Chair, Commissioners. It's my honor tonight to read this proclamation honoring Scott Erdos, who's served our county for 25 years. The proclamation honoring Scott Erdos, whereas Scott Erdos has served the citizens of Kalamazoo County for 25 years as of January 11th, 2024. Whereas Scott Erdos has faithfully discharged the duties of Deputy CEO 2, now temporary sergeant. Whereas the County of Kalamazoo wishes to acknowledge and honor employees who have longevity under the umbrella of county government. Since it is through longevity experience in the employee's particular field of achievement now, therefore be it resolved that the County of Kalamazoo Board of Commissioners does hereby acknowledge and gratitude the many years of dedicated service Scott Erdos has imparted to the citizens of Kalamazoo County and offers his best wishes for many more years of mutual association.
Support.
It's been properly moved and supported. Any discussion? Clerk Cox?
Commissioner DeLu,
Yes.
Commissioner Gisler.
Yes.
Vice Chair Pro Tem Hepler.
Yes.
Commissioner Mazer.
Yes.
Commissioner Morales.
Yes.
Chair Ray.
Yes.
Commissioner Strebs.
Yes.
Vice Chair Taylor.
Yes.
8 yes.
The motion carries. Sheriff Fuller would also like to say a few words.
Just want to say
Come on,
thank you to
Sergeant.
everybody. It's been a fulfilling 25 years. I've got a few more years in me, and I appreciate everything that this county's done for me and everything that the sheriff and undersheriff have done for me. And just want to say thank you. Been enjoyable.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I wasn't gonna let him step away without saying something. So I've been honored and blessed to have such a hardworking, dedicated individual as Scott on our team for many years. I think I was his first sergeant, and we've grown together in this organization. And it's interesting to watch his family grow through all these years too. So we like to work as a family unit out there. And so we count each other as brothers and sisters. And it's just awesome to see somebody so dedicated to the service. Today, he was he honored us even further by saying yes to working in a temporary sergeant's position. So we're very proud.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
All right, next up, we have a proclamation honoring Rebecca Perigo, for 25 years of service. Let's see who'd like to read it. Commissioner DeLuke?
To honor Rebecca Perigo, whereas Rebecca Perigo has served the citizens of Kalamazoo County for 25 years as of January 11th, 2024. Whereas Rebecca Perigo has faithfully served as Financial Services Director. And whereas the County of Kalamazoo wishes to acknowledge and honor employees who have longevity under the umbrella of county government, since it is through longevity that expertise is the employee's particular field is achieved. Now therefore be it resolved that the Kalamazoo County Board of Commissioners does hereby acknowledge with gratitude the many years of dedication and service Rebecca Perigo has imparted to the citizens of the county and offers its best wishes for many more years of mutual association.
Support.
Moved by Commissioner DeLuke, supported by Commissioner Straps. Any discussion? Okay, Clerk Cox?
Commissioner Gissler,
Yes.
Vice Chair Pro Tem Hepler, Commissioner Mazer,
Yes.
Commissioner Morales.
Yes.
Chair Ray, Commissioner Strebs,
Yes.
Vice Chair Taylor,
Yes.
Commissioner DeLuke,
Yes.
8 yes.
Thank you, Clerk. Now we have communications. We do not have any communications. Are there any commissioners that have any communications they want to share? All right, seeing none, we will move to approval of minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from January 2nd organizational meeting?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from January 2nd.
Okay, it's been moved by Vice Chair Pro Tem Hepler, supported by Commissioner Mazer. Any discussion? No discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposition, no. All right, motion carries. Next, we have approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda? I think we have an addition, right? There's a long motion for Angelina.
I make a motion to approve the agenda with the addition of the motion to request 30 days for Angelina.
All right, it's been moved by Vice Chair Taylor, supported by Commissioner Morales. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposition, say no. All right, motion carries, and we will move to public comments. Are there any members of the public who wish to make public comment? Please come to the podium. You have 3 minutes. Please state your name and tell us where you're from. This is the time to provide input in a professional, respectful manner. All right, I don't see Terrell coming up, so we have no public comments. Do we have anybody online, any recorded comments?
No recorded or hands raised, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Administrator Catlin. We're moving right along. Vice Chair Taylor is going to take us through the consent agenda.
Thank you, Chair. Under administration, we have a request for approval of signature of amendment number 2 to the memorandum of understanding with the Public Housing Commission. Request for approval of position creation of temporary FT administrative assistant under corporate counsel. Board of Commissioners request for the review and approval of calendar year 2024 Michigan Work System Plan. A request to approve a resolution to rescind proclamation in support of the open database and replace with the resolution in support of the open database. Under Circuit Court, a requesting the board approval of grant terms and conditions agreement with the Michigan Court appointed special advocate for children. A request for approval of a resolution to temporarily authorize the county administrator controller to sign contracts for court-ordered placement of youth in residential treatment facilities. District Court request for approval of position creation and elimination. Finance recommendation for approval of accounts payable and payroll disbursements. Request for approval of 2024 budget position changes, housekeeping. Request for approval of various budget adjustments and transfers, housekeeping. Health and Community Service, a request for acceptance of statement of grant awards number 2024-3 to the Area Agency on Aging 3A. Request for acceptance of statement of grant award SGA number 2024-4 to the Area Agency on Aging 3A. Request for approval of position creation for the Children's Special Health Care Services Program pending arrival of grant amendment. Request for approval of position creations for the Breast and Cervical Cancer Control Navigation Program, BC3NP, pending arrival of grant amendment. Request for approval of a signature of lien release from the Community Service Block Grant document number 2000-008511. A request for acceptance of a Caregiver Resource Center grant and approval of the Health Officer Director to electronically sign the contract on the county's behalf through the Michigan e-portal. Request for approval and signature of Environmental Health Advisory Council, EHAC bylaws and rules of procedure. Under Human Resources, a request for approval to renew with Midwest Employers Casualty Company. Request for approval of changes to Personnel Policy 4.0, 1, pay weeks and periods. Request for approval to ratify and approve the 2024 letter of understanding with the POAM Juvenile Home and authorize the board chair to sign the letter of understanding. Under Sheriff, a request for approval and signature on agreement between Integrated Services of Kalamazoo and Kalamazoo County Sheriff's Office for CIT training. I move that all items be voted on at one time by consent agenda by the board.
All right, it's been moved by Vice Chair Taylor, supported by Vice Chair Pro Tem Hepler. Clerk Cox, will you call the roll, please?
Vice Chair Pro Tem Hepler.
Yes.
Commissioner Mazer.
Yes.
Commissioner Morales.
Yes.
Chair Ray.
Yes.
Commissioner Strebs.
Yes.
Vice Chair Taylor.
Yes.
Commissioner DeLu.
Yes.
Commissioner Gisler.
Yes.
8 yes.
Thank you, clerk. Item number 10, unfinished business and general orders. We have board chair advisory bodies and appointments. Is there a motion to approve? Commissioner Hepler.
Thank you, Chair. I move that we approve the bodies and advisory boards with the amendments that were presented during the discussion at the meeting of the whole.
It's been properly moved and supported. Any discussion? No discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposition? No. Okay, motion carries. Item 11, new business. We have one motion. Does anybody have that motion? Kevin?
One moment, Chair.
Sure.
Okay, Chair, so this is what the motion should state. It should be a motion to waive the full 60-day calendar day prior written notice provision in Angelina Barnes' employment agreement, accept her resignation tendered January 8th, 2023, and agree to establish Corporation Council's last date of full-time employment under the terms of the employment agreement as February 2nd, 2024. So under the committee of the whole packet, it's the last paragraph of that board agenda item report. If you can find that, and someone can just kind of read that last paragraph in that report under description of action.
I think I've got it. Yeah, I got it here. I saw it. I think I know where it is. I wish we could do it. What he said. Okay. I've got the contract here, Kevin, but I can.
Thank you.
Does anybody have glasses?
Dina, may you make that larger, very large, please?
I move that the board waive the full 60-day calendar day prior written notice provision in corporate Barnes's employment agreement, accept her resignation tendered January 8th, 2023, and agree to establish Corporation Council's last date of full-time employment under the terms of this employment agreement as February 2nd, 2024.
It's been properly moved and supported. Any discussion? Clerk Cox, will you call roll, please?
Commissioner Mazer.
Yes.
Commissioner Morales.
Yes.
Chair Ray.
Yes.
Commissioner Strebs.
Yes.
Vice Chair Taylor.
Yes.
Commissioner DeLu.
Yes.
Commissioner Gisler.
Yes.
Vice Chair Pro Tem Hepler. 8 yes.
Motion carries. Thank you, clerk. All right, we are back to public comment. Any members of the public wish to make public comment? All right, seeing none, we will move to report of officers, bodies, administrator, controller. I don't have anything. Vice Chair.
It's gonna snow in about 45 minutes.
Vice Chair Pro Tem Hepler.
Thank you, Chair. Real quick, I want to thank everybody for their hard work and their continued support to the county. We've had a lot of men and women out there working tirelessly, protecting us, our police, our fire, working in very inclement conditions, and medical folks. Our snowplow operators have done a great job of trying to keep the roads as safe as they can. Please, when you see them, take a minute to tell them thank you. Thank our staff for their hard work, continuing to keep our facilities clean, and our health department for all their hard work. Our military folks, when you see them, thank them for keeping us safe here and abroad. Please, people, be safe out there. Try to drive safely. Bear in mind, as Vice Chair just said, it may snow again and the roads are still icy.
Thank you. Administrator Catlin.
Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair, Vice Chair Pro Tem and Commissioners. So I will have some pretty exciting updates to share with the board and public this evening. So I wanted to first start off with the RIP medical debt. So there's some exciting news to share about that we're happy to share this evening and provide an update. There's still a lot of work to be done, but there's a lot of moving pieces happening and occurring right now. We've been in constant contact with RIP medical debt and the state. So if you don't recall, I did send some information to the board about the state allocating funding. They allocated $4.5 million for 4 counties. Those are Kalamazoo, Kent, Ingham, and 5 counties. It's Kalamazoo, Kent, Ingham, Oakland, and Wayne. And so $4.5 million, I'm not sure how that's divided up yet. I would have to imagine it's population based. They're going to come up with some sort of a formula. That funding is going to be administered by DHHS. And so because the governor didn't sign the supplemental budget until it was after a certain date, it actually won't go into effect until February. So DHHS hasn't been working on the actual programmatic rules just yet because the funding isn't available. Once that funding's available, they'll start working on it. I have been in contact with RIP medical debt. They're estimating, without working with the hospitals currently, they haven't just done that yet because we don't have a contract with them. They're estimating currently that the debt limit here in Kalamazoo County is around $89 million, but they'll true that number up as they work with the area hospitals once we get into contract with them, which brings us to the next point that the next point in the process that we're working on is a sole source agreement with them. I've already received approval from our purchasing department to enter into a sole source agreement that'll go on the administrator's agenda. So we'll have legal look over that agreement, enter into contract. So at least we have that part out of the way. I've been in contact with the city of Kalamazoo. Just like us, we committed a portion of our budget to participate in the program as our cash match. If you recall, our cash match for the entire county is around $1 million. So we've committed, I believe it's 480,000. City of Kalamazoo is also going to be contributing some funding from their 2024 budget to this project. With the money from the state, we'll have more than enough money to participate in the program and wipe the medical debt out of the county. So it's all a work in progress, but I want to provide you that update. I'm hoping that once February hits, DHHS reaches out to the counties, we get involved in that grant program with the state, receive some state funding, match it with the counties and the city's funding to get that process started. So we'll keep you apprised of that as it unfolds. Wanted to provide some good news on the Tri-Share program. We will certainly, and we hope to have that program instituted or implemented within first quarter this year, sooner than later. We're hoping. We've already started making progress with Tri-Share, so we've got the agreement with their vendor that they contract with. That's already gone through the legal review process, and at this time, actually, employees can begin signing up. for that, to at least start the application process. So that part is out the way, and then they can just start rolling in to the program. So we'll be sending out some communications to employees on that. So at least they can get the application work started and out of the way. And then the last thing I wanted to update the board on, some exciting news is that we did hear back from the Kalamazoo Community Foundation on that grant that we were seeking to support the Indigent Equipment Fund, that tethering program that Director Ken Bobo from OCC had asked for. So we received the $20,000. I was able to work with the city of Portage, receive another $3,000 from them, and work with the city of Kalamazoo and receive $7,000 from them. So we have funding for that program to continue for 2024 to see how that project runs, and we'll be able to report back at a later date to update you on that information and the success of that program. So 3 exciting things to share. Happy to answer any other questions about these programs or any other programs I didn't touch on. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, Commissioner DeWitt.
I never know when the appropriate time is. The young lady that was in here tonight about maternity leave, is that something that have to be addressed at like budget next year, or when can that be addressed?
So that's a great question, Commissioner DeLu, and for the rest of the board, it's just always so timely because we were just talking about that specific benefit in my office this morning. So it's almost like it was a coincidence. I think the appropriate time is around budget. That way we can have time to understand like what it would cost the county, because that does come at a cost to the county. When employees are out, we have to, look at overtime and things like that. But it is something that we were looking at in terms of benefit. We were also looking at tuition assistance, things like that. So other benefits that we want to start proposing to the board to consider for recruitment and retention initiatives. So it's definitely on our radar, and we will start doing some research on, what those kind of programs will cost the county in terms of actually, hitting the financials, but, discuss the benefits of those as well. Yep.
Question.
Real quick, we have an employee benefits committee, don't we?
We do. It's internal. It's an internal group. So I know it includes HR and then some of the other departments. And I believe some of the elected sit on it as well.
I'm on it. I've never been informed of didn't know when we were having those meetings. I think we started in 2020, putting one commissioner on that committee, but I didn't know that we had ever met. So I guess I apologize. I probably should have done some more research on that. I probably could have answered Dale's question a little earlier, but is that?
So Vice Chair, I don't believe that they've met anytime recently. So the notifications would definitely go out when they meet, but that's something that would be proposed through the benefits committee and then kind of rolled up to the board.
Gotcha. I thought I missed something. Okay, good.
You sure, Commissioner Straps? Okay. Thank you, Administrator Catlin. Very exciting updates. Commissioner Morales?
Nothing, be safe and stay warm.
Commissioner Straps?
We're doing exciting things. Commissioner Catlin, thank you, or Commissioner Administrator Catlin and the team, thank you for all the work you're doing. Good time to be in Kalamazoo County. Stay safe and warm, everybody. Thank you.
Commissioner DeLu?
No, don't have anything tonight. Thank you.
Commissioner Gisler?
Only a reminder that if you want to go to Florida right now, you can save $25. Yeah, put your hand down, Jeff. $25 per round trip ticket if the trip is completed by the end of June.
How
Thank
much
you.
are they paying you?
Not enough to stay here in the north.
Commissioner Mazer?
No comment.
All right, if there's nothing else, we are adjourned.